The diplomatic station Harmony hung like a silver needle against the star-scattered darkness, orbiting the contested world of Kepler 442b. Elias Kane pressed his face to the transport's viewport, watching the station grow larger as they approached. His stomach churned, not from the zero-gravity transition, but from the weight of what lay ahead. "First time dealing with the Zirathai?" asked Ambassador Rothwell, nervously adjusting his formal diplomatic uniform for the 100th time. "First time dealing with anyone trying to kill us for 3 years straight," Elias replied, checking his translation devices one final time. His job was simple: make sure both sides understood each other. The reality was far more complex. The docking bay hummed with tension as the Zirathai vessel approached. Elias watched through the reinforced glass as their ship, a sleek, predatory thing that looked more like a weapon than a transport, settled into the docking clamps. The human security team shifted nervously, hands hovering near their weapons. "Remember," Rothwell whispered, "we're here to make peace, not war." The airlock hissed open. 2 Zirathai guards emerged first, their pale blue skin gleaming under the station's harsh lights, ceremonial armor covering their tall frames. Between them walked their commander. Elias had seen the intelligence reports. He knew about Commander Velterra, the Ice Death, who had destroyed 2 human outposts, who had earned her position through violence and cunning. The woman who emerged from the airlock matched every terrifying detail, nearly 7 feet tall, covered in ceremonial battle armor, her red curly hair braided with small metal ornaments that caught the light like tiny flames. But what struck Elias wasn't her fearsome reputation or her imposing presence. It was her eyes. Beneath the warrior's mask, he saw something no intelligence report had mentioned: exhaustion. Loneliness. The weight of someone who had carried violence for so long that she had forgotten what peace felt like. She approached the human delegation with measured steps, her pale blue skin almost luminescent under the station's lights. Ambassador Rothwell stepped forward, beginning the formal greetings, but Elias found himself studying her face. The sharp angles of her features, the way she held herself with perfect military bearing despite the obvious fatigue in her posture. Before he could stop himself, the words escaped: "You're beautiful." Commander Velterra froze mid-step. Not angry. Not flattered. Just completely, utterly still, as if no one in her entire life had dared to speak to her like that, as a person, not a symbol of war. The silence stretched between them like a bridge neither had expected to cross. The negotiations had been brutal. 3 days of tense discussions in the station's main conference room, with both sides barely containing their hostility. Elias watched Commander Velterra struggle with the nuances of human diplomatic language, her jaw tightening with frustration each time she had to pause for translation. "The terms are acceptable," she finally managed, her accent thick with effort. Ambassador Rothwell nodded, but Elias could see the strain in her pale blue features. After the session ended, he found her alone on the observation deck, staring out at the stars. Her red curls had escaped their military braids, framing her face in the soft light from the nebula beyond. "You don't have to pretend it's easy," he said quietly, approaching with 2 cups of tea. She turned, surprise flickering across her features. "I am a warrior. Nothing should be difficult." He offered her the cup. Even warriors can struggle with things outside their training. Velterra accepted the tea, their fingers brushing briefly. Her skin was cooler than human, but soft despite the calluses from years of weapons training. "Among my people, I am considered problematic. Too violent, even for Zirathai standards. Exiled. Sent to the outer colonies. Endless battles against pirates, rebels, your people." She took a sip of tea, grimacing slightly at the unfamiliar taste. "I have been fighting for so long, I had forgotten there were other ways to solve problems." Elias moved closer, studying her profile. "What made you agree to these negotiations?" "Exhaustion." The word came out like a confession. "I am tired of death, Elias Kane. Tired of being the weapon my people point at their enemies." When she rolled up her sleeve to adjust her armor, he saw the fresh bandage on her forearm. "You're hurt. A minor wound from the last skirmish. Let me help." He reached for her arm, and she didn't pull away. As he carefully peeled back the bandage, she watched his face intently. The wound was deeper than she'd admitted, but healing well. "Your hands are gentle," she said softly. "I have never, no one has ever touched me without intent to harm or be harmed." Their eyes met, and in that moment, something shifted between them. The warrior's mask slipped, revealing the woman underneath, vulnerable, lonely, desperate for connection she'd never been allowed to seek. "Velterra," he whispered, and her name sounded like a prayer on his lips. She leaned into his touch, her eyes closing as his thumb traced the edge of her wound. "I do not know how to be anything other than what I am. You don't have to be anything else. Just, be yourself. With me." Part 3, Forbidden Connection. The hydroponics bay became their sanctuary. Hidden among the growing plants and the soft hum of life support systems, they found stolen moments between the endless diplomatic sessions. Velterra would arrive first, still in her ceremonial armor, but gradually she began to shed the formal trappings of her rank when they were alone. "Tell me about your world," Elias said one evening, his fingers tracing the intricate patterns tattooed along her arm, marks of battles won and comrades lost. "Zirathai Prime is harsh. Beautiful, but harsh. We are taught from childhood that strength is survival, that emotion is weakness." She paused, studying his face in the soft grow light. "Warriors are revered but never truly loved. We are weapons, tools to be used and discarded. You're not a weapon to me. What am I then?" The question held a vulnerability that made his heart ache. "You're Velterra. You're brilliant and brave and strong, but you're also gentle when you think no one is watching. You're someone who's been hurt and lonely for too long." She turned to face him fully, her pale blue skin almost luminescent in the dim light. "I have never been kissed," she admitted quietly. "Zirathai warriors do not, we do not experience tenderness." Elias reached up, cupping her face gently. "May I?" Her nod was barely perceptible. When their lips met, it was soft, tentative, a question rather than a demand. She gasped against his mouth, her hands coming up to clutch at his shoulders as if he might disappear. "I don't understand what's happening to me," she whispered against his lips. "You're falling in love," he said simply. "And so am I." Their stolen hours became more intimate. In her quarters, she showed him the scars that mapped her body like a constellation of pain. He kissed each one, telling her she was beautiful, that she was worthy of love. She marveled at his human warmth, the way his heart raced when she touched him. "Your skin is so warm," she whispered, her hands exploring the planes of his chest. "Like touching sunlight." "And you're like moonlight," he replied, tracing the elegant curve of her neck. "Beautiful and mysterious and perfect." But their secret couldn't last. Ambassador Rothwell found them together, wrapped in each other's arms in the observation lounge. His face went white with shock and fear. "Are you insane?" he hissed. "Do you know what this could do to the negotiations? What they'll do to both of you if this gets out?" Velterra straightened, slipping back into her commander's persona. "The negotiations will continue as planned. Not if the Zirathai High Command learns their greatest warrior has been compromised by human affection." The attack came without warning. Alarms shrieked through the station as radical Zirathai forces breached the outer hull. Elias was in the communications center when the first explosions rocked the station. "They're trying to prevent the peace treaty," Ambassador Rothwell shouted over the chaos. "The extremists want the war to continue." Velterra appeared in the doorway, her armor gleaming, weapons drawn. But instead of leading the attack, she positioned herself between the human delegation and the breach. "Get to the escape pods," she ordered Elias. "I will hold them off. I'm not leaving you. This is not your fight." She spun to face him, her red hair wild around her face. These are my people. I must. You must what? Die for people who cast you out? Elias grabbed her arm. You have a choice, Valterra. You don't have to be their weapon anymore. Her eyes searched his face, torn between duty and desire. Then the attackers rounded the corner, and she made her choice. She fought alongside the humans, her deadly grace turned toward protecting rather than destroying. The battle was brutal. Valterra moved like liquid death, her weapons finding their marks with devastating precision. But she was vastly outnumbered. When a blast meant for Elias came her way, she threw herself in front of him, taking the full force of the energy weapon. She collapsed, her pale blue skin burned and bleeding. Elias caught her as she fell, his hands coming away red with her blood. Why? He whispered, cradling her head. Because I was sent to kill you, she gasped, her breathing labored. The negotiations were a trap. I was supposed to assassinate the human delegation and make it look like an accident. His world tilted. What? But then you saw me. Not the warrior, not the weapon. You saw me. Tears tracked down her cheeks. I have never been loved, Elias. I have never mattered to anyone except as a tool of war. You changed that. You're not going to die, he said fiercely, applying pressure to her wounds. I won't let you. I love you, she whispered, her eyes growing dim. I wanted you to know, in case. Don't you dare, he said, his voice breaking. Don't you dare leave me. Not now. Not when we've just found each other. 6 months later, Valterra stood in the garden of their new home on the colony world of Haven's Rest. The planet was neutral territory, established after the peace treaty both species had signed in the wake of the failed assassination attempt. Her wounds had healed, leaving new scars to add to her collection, but these felt different, earned in love rather than war. The tomatoes are coming in well, Elias said, wrapping his arms around her waist from behind. She leaned back against his warmth, her hands covering his. I never imagined I would find peace in growing things instead of destroying them, she mused. Their home had become a sanctuary for other interspecies couples, a place where love could flourish despite the prejudices of both their peoples. Valterra used her warrior skills to protect rather than conquest, while Elias helped translate not just languages but hearts. There's something I need to tell you, she said, turning in his arms. What's wrong? He searched her face, concern creasing his features. Nothing is wrong. Everything is perfect. She took his hand and placed it on her stomach. I'm pregnant. The wonder in his eyes made her heart sing. Are you sure? The human doctor confirmed it yesterday. A hybrid child, the first of our kinds. Elias lifted her, spinning her around the garden as she laughed, a sound that had become more frequent since they'd made their home here. When he set her down, he cupped her face gently. What will our people say? Let them say what they will. We are creating something new, something beautiful. She kissed him softly. Our child will be proof that love can bridge any divide. That night, in the privacy of their bedroom, they made love with a tenderness that spoke of forever. Valterra had learned to be vulnerable, to let him see every part of her, the warrior, the woman, the mother-to-be. And Elias had learned that sometimes the most powerful force in the universe wasn't weapons or fear, but the courage to love someone exactly as they are. As they lay entwined afterward, her red curls spread across his chest like fire, she traced patterns on his skin with her fingertips. I never knew I could be happy, she whispered. And now? Now I know that happiness isn't something you fight for. It's something you choose, every day, with the person you love. Outside their window, the stars of two civilizations shone down on them, no longer enemies, but partners in the greatest adventure of all, building a future together.